want to share with you, I just had a session with a client right now where it gives you an example of why people hire someone like me. And especially when they sign up for what I call my Jocson Treat and Train Program. See, I've been in the two fields of physical therapy and rehabilitation and personal training, or the strength and conditioning fields, for over 25 years. So I have the advantage and experience of working in both fields. So I get to see people when they're recovering from an injury, and as well as they don't have any physical symptoms and they just want to perform better. So oftentimes there's a division between the two, and people end up seeing one or the other or both for various reasons. So for example, this client was someone who we've already established a training program, and they've already rehabbed some issues they were having in their back. So today, on schedule for their programming, they had a certain training regimen that we were going to do, but he came in and before his session warned me that he's been doing a lot of activities for the past 4 days and he feels a little soreness in his lower back, and he doesn't want to aggravate the back because he has a vacation going away where it's going to involve a lot more activities. So rather than obviously going through the scheduled program, we modified it in a way after assessing to what extent the severity and irritability and the nature of his lower back symptoms were, so that we could adapt the program on the fly based on his recent symptoms. So what we found was his old history of low back issues was greatly rehabbed, greatly resolved, but when you do so much as far as the activities that he did, there's just so much your body has in reserves. So it's going to use the same patterns that he had those low back symptoms in the past anyway. So meaning he exhausted the areas to take pressure off of the back, but because he did so much, he had to compensate and use his back eventually. So what we did was, because he still had some residual soreness, he had some tightness in his back, was we addressed those areas that seemed somewhat tight, but they were really in a holding pattern to give his body, his nervous system, a sense of control. And then we allowed them to relax by engaging other parts of his body that opposes his back. So after having him go through the motion to stretch and open up and move the areas where those soft tissues, the perceived tight soft tissues, were preventing motion, the joints they were preventing motion at, we had him actively open that area up. And then we had him do activities that did two things. One, create somewhat of a neural activation or a neural reset to connect the brain to specific areas of its attention. So in his case, his abdominal obliques, to gain more control of his rib cage and his pelvis and his lumbar spine, which helps take some of the load off of the lower back muscles, as well as his hamstring, upper hamstring areas below his pelvis, to help control the positioning of his pelvis, to again take pressure off of his back. So we got the neural activation, that was one, and then the other reasoning what we did was to get blood flow to those areas. So thinking of as warming up those areas to prep them to do work. And then once we did that, then we did specific movements to engage or stimulate those areas. So we did a lot of hip extension movements, a lot of shoulder girdle protraction, abdominal oblique, rib cage, in-flaring type of movements, tucking of his pelvis, and we went through stability and conditioning with higher reps into a strengthening with a little bit heavier loads, and then respecting his thresholds of his lower back and more of a power, more dynamic expression of force in a short period of time type of movements, all in one session. This is all sub-threshold to what he perceived that his back was engaging. And in fact, he didn't feel his lower back whatsoever. So once we did that, then we put it all together into a circuit of sorts to challenge different aspects of his fitness and conditioning but really we're emphasizing on disengaging the lower back and engaging or reinforcing everything else. So essentially, in a nutshell, we worked his whole body but his lower back where he had his symptoms. So what this, to give you an example, the effect of this after the workout, he basically said that he didn't feel his back whatsoever and he felt great, where normally at this point after what he did the past 4 days, you would think all this movement and exercise and lifting and just working out would aggravate the back or make it more tired. When in reality it didn't, and in fact, who's to say, it probably actually sped up his recovery ability of his lower back, and it also gave a little bit of reinforcement to the brain that it doesn't have to always overuse the back to regain some control and stability in the body. So this is just a quick example where if you just went to a regular physical therapist with a complaint of back pain, they just probably do the old stim and poke and hot pack to your lower back and have you do some, I don't know, bird dog or some abdominal exercise and then send you home and make you feel all better after rubbing you. Or if they just went to a trainer and you had these complaints of low back pain, a good trainer would surround the dragon and do anything they can that doesn't aggravate the back and try to get some kind of an exercise program, which is appropriate. But not a lot of good trainers are out there because they don't know how to think outside the box, and then they would actually end up probably, who's to say, aggravate the situation. So in the Treat and Train program, we have the best of both worlds, and we actually, instead of taking this as a situation where, oh no, my back is going to act up again, I'm not going to be able to do as much as I want to do. No, we took advantage of where they are, and then we just added what was missing or what needs to be more worked on or more training and more conditioning, and then we gave the involved area, in this case the lower back, a break. And then we integrated it all together to teach or remind the nervous system, the brain, that it doesn't have to always isolate one area to regain control. So think about that. If you're always using limited patterning to find or to give you stability, you're going to exhaust that one specific area once you surpass its soft tissue tolerance thresholds. So if, rather than going to that right away, you learned how to address the potential energy that you're holding that you don't or haven't tapped into and actually utilize that potential, then you could figure that not one area is going to be overused, all right? So those areas, like in this case, my client's lower back, he's always going to have that patterning, but with the training that we've been doing, he's not going to use it as soon as he normally would have. So you want to save that for the last, when you have nothing left, you're at the end of your rope, so you use that. But before you get there, you want to be able to train and use everything else, and that is what strength and conditioning can do for a rehabilitation program. So thank you for watching this far. I just wanted to share with you to give you an example, because people kind of wonder, is he a physical therapist? Is he a personal trainer, strength coach? I don't know. I don't need either. But I want you to consider, if you're looking to hire me for a consult, I do remote consults as well as in-person consults in my garage gym in Howard Beach, Queens, New York. So you can get in touch with me either here through Facebook, you could DM me through Instagram. My Instagram handle is Natural Born Healer, or you can reach me on Facebook under Michael Jocson, obviously. So again, thank you very much, and until the next time.